Hey, folks, just a friendly reminder that all shows on the Madness Comic Network are produced by their individual hosts and in no way reflect the opinions of the network as a whole. The statements in the following broadcast are not necessarily the opinions of the Madness Comic Network, its staff, sponsors, or contributors. This show is rated TVMA, as are all of them and all those other letters. Viewer discretion is highly advised. And, just do what Doc says. Read that again. Peace, everybody.
Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? 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 Guess who's back?
Who am I, you ask? I was created in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by the waste of a dying world. I was bestowed with an insurmountable task: bring peace after decades of death, persecution, and chaos. I am a grandchild of war, destined to help two camps which hate has fueled for far too long. Surprisingly, I am not alone. Have an odd bunch to make the road a little more bearable. Come with me, to bring hope where there was despair, respect where there was resentment, creativity where there was destruction. I am Pinocchio, and this is my story.
Flip City Magazine is just really pulling out all the stops, man. Your guys' production value of this magazine has gone insane. I mean, look at that. I mean, I remember when you guys, it was black and white. Even when it was black and white, I thought your quality was great. But damn, they have just, I mean, they just really stepping it up a notch. Look at this. James Corbett, boys. James Corbett.
Genuinely cutting, but also funny, and obviously just chaotic and very fun.
I love Flip City. It has brought new types of badassery and integrity to the print medium.
The writer and creator of numerous comic books and graphic novels, including Nightmare World, Tales of Mystery, Brave But Not Dead, all kinds of stuff. And I am super excited for you because you are getting to watch right now, right this moment, out of all the things we're going to be doing, you're getting to enjoy and revel in the Madness Comic Network. And that is awesome. Thank you for being here.
Okay. Howdy, folks. Howdy, folks. I am here today. It is another Wednesday, and we are here for Comic Artist Hour. I'm wondering if my boy Charles is going to be showing up sometime soon. We shall find out. But let me see. I'm going to shoot a little message off to him. And,
He didn't respond to me.
Well, Charles has got some stuff going on right now with his house. There's a whole bunch of construction going on with his house, and he's a little displaced for the moment. So, yeah. So he is. Their house, the house he has is old as hell, and found out there's like a lot of lead paint throughout that house, which might explain some of his antics, but he's not here, so I'll attack from the shadows. It's okay. But
that's good.
He's but he got a grant somehow from Oak Park there in Chicago, where they're paying to have the thing taken care of.
Now he needs to keep a bucket of them paint chips, so he got something to chew on.
Pretty much. So yeah, he's usually the one who gets our like if we have guests on and stuff like that. He's usually the one who does that, brings them on. So,
well, your art doesn't need a guest. To tell you the truth, you can do this thing. Just there you go. Actually, I've had people like Doc was telling me, man, he's like, I learned so much watching less because Doc just started doing the digital thing. So he watches your show because he's trying to learn stuff to apply to his work, right?
Well, I'm sharing the screen for Clip Studio here. So what I'm working on right now, I'm gonna share another. If it'll let me, I'm gonna share another screen too. That'll
Probably not at the same time unless it's a second computer.
Well, let's see. So, yeah, it won't let me do two screens at once. That sucks. Because I was going to show the screen for the script to this. Because what I'm doing right now is working on a book. Charles, for those who don't know, Charles is actually a publisher.
Right.
And he publishes comics and games and a bunch of different kinds of stuff. That's actually how he and I know each other. Is I've done a lot of artwork for him in the last couple of years, and it's one of those one of those nice situations where you have a working relationship that turns into a friendship, because as zany and off the freaking wall as he is, he's a good guy. So it's like as weird as he is, he's also that much of a good person.
Right.
Because if he weren't that much of a good person and were that weird, I'd be like, dude, get the fuck out of here. So, because I'm you ever seen that movie, Let's Go to Prison?
No. I lived that movie, Let's Go to Prison.
There's a movie called Let's Go to Prison, and there's a scene when they first get to prison and they're in the lineup, and the warden comes out to talk to them all. And the first thing he says as he's, it's not the first thing he says, but he says a bunch of shit, and it's just terrible. But it's all deadpan. He's like, if perhaps the cuisine is not to your liking, I want you to talk to Mr. Callahan here, one of the guards, and see if you can get a piece of paper and a pencil from him and write your complaint down on a piece of paper, then fold it up neatly and put it in your asshole. And he says that about a bunch of stuff. And they're all standing there, and he's like got this giggle on his face, and he goes, I have a notoriously dry sense of humor. And that is like, for years, that was like, my kids were like, that's Dad. That is him.
I can tell stories, but I'm not gonna.
Notoriously dry sense of humor.
I can tell you that I was, out of 6 years on 3 different yards, I never met a warden. Never saw the warden. Them motherfuckers are upstate in the courthouse, up there. And
oh, yeah.
They got an office in town, and they don't give a shit about what's going on out there in the yard. That's first.
I was in a band about, God, has it been 20 years ago now? Jesus, I'm getting old. I think it was about 20 years ago. I was playing guitar in a band, and the first practice, the singer showed up late, and he comes in, and he acts real nervous around me. And it's about 3 or 4 practices in, I asked the other guys, I was like, why is John act so weird around me? And they kind of snickered and giggled a little bit, and the drummer, Matt, was still a really good friend of mine, says to me, he's like, dude, you remind him of the Yard Bulls. I was like, oh, I see. So, I was always tempted that after finding that out, there was a little piece of me that just always wanted to be like, here, fishy, fishy. Just because, because I knew it would mess with him, but I never did. I was good. I behaved myself. Yeah, I got a lot of that stuff in my family.
Well, I mean, I had first day encounters on every yard I went on. I actually broke my own TV on the first day encounter after a move. I got moved from one yard to another, and I'm walking across the yard, and I'm carrying my shit, right? Like, I didn't have a lot, carrying my shit, my little 13-inch TV on top of it. Of course, somebody's going to give you a yard check. They couldn't wait till I got to my motherfucking house and put my shit down, right? So dude's walking right at me, and he's expecting me to get out the way. And I'm walking right at him, and I ain't deviating from my direction. And when we got close, he started to say something, and I just dropped my shit and hit him. But I broke my own goddamn TV.
I have thought for a long, long time, something I'd love to do one day. I mean, it's just a rough, just a simple concept, but doing a vampire story set inside a prison with throwing like a level beneath the prison where a vampire lives, and I mean basically the people inside it are his herd. He's got a constant stream of victims. I think there's a way that could be written that would be really interesting.
Yeah, you have somebody. Well, I mean, you'd have to have somebody on the yard who is trying to fight against it. Knows what's going on, and like a good guy inmate. That's a great concept.
I thought, it's like, somebody. I mean, again, kind of like that movie. That it's a funny as hell movie. It's stars Dax Shepard and Will Arnett, and it is truly hilarious. Dax Shepard in that movie reminds me of a cousin of mine quite a bit.
I had a white hat prison story that I wanted to write too. And I say white hat for a reason, because it was a white hat organization that went out of its way to transfer a certain inmate from yard to yard to state to state to yard to eliminate. What a concept, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of neat, having like a character. You follow a guy, like a guy gets sentenced and he gets sent to this place, and I mean, not like a hardened criminal, somebody honestly who's convicted of shit that you look at and you're like, why? Seriously.
He's in jail for weed, man. It's like I was.
Pretty much.
For weed twice. That's what happened to dude. He's a good guy. He's not an evil person. He smokes fucking weed.
Well, something like that, character like that. Oh shit! I just dropped my pen. Who goes in, and you just you follow his experience in his time in this in a prison that is got a vampire living underneath it. And there's all kinds of things that I've thought about with it. Whenever I entertain the idea, what's the relationship of the vampire to maybe the guards? How's that all work out? And this idea keeps coming back to me when I see any movies that involve a prison. And I recently watched that Vince Vaughn movie. It was a Riot on Cell Block 99, I think.
Yeah. I don't watch prison movies because most of them are bullshit.
Yeah.
I've lived 3 different yards for 6 years of my life, and I've seen very few real prison stories. Very few. Everybody's embellishing a lot of it, and hey, I mean, I can tell you flat up all the homosexual activity that is alluded to all the time.
Oh yeah.
Every yard I was on, if dudes got caught fucking around, they got rolled up off the yard. That means the inmates told them, get your shit, get to the gate, and tell the guard you're leaving. Okay? That's what rolled up means. Okay? You got rolled up. Okay? Look.
That's funny.
We don't want to see that shit. No more in prison than outside of prison. Okay, they got a yard for all them fuckers. They all go there together. Do whatever they want. Yeah, you get rolled up off a prison yard for being openly. I mean, it only happened on one yard that I was on. 2 dudes got caught in the shower together, and they got rolled up. It's that simple. Get the fuck out. Nobody wants to get in the shower and be walking in some butt sauce, even if you got shower shoes on.
Well, that movie it's a funny damn movie. Let's Go to Prison's a funny as hell movie. Yeah, it's just the whole premise of the damn thing. The main character's name is something Lashitsky, and it goes into this thing about how he was a juvenile delinquent. He was put in a juvie, and how long-term juvie just turned him into set him up to go into regular prison one day. And so he's just spent his life in and out, in and out, in and out. Mm-hmm. And he's got this big vendetta, this chip on his shoulder against this judge who keeps sending him into prison. Well, same judge. They have the same judge over and over sends him as Judge Nelson Biederman III. And Will Arnett plays the son of the judge, Nelson Biederman IV. And Will Arnett's character is a complete douchebag. He is just a silver spoon, rich boy, freaking douchebag. And Lashitsky has a plan to kill his dad. But then the plan is foiled when he calls the guy's office to find out, when is the judge going to be on the bench? And they're like, well, he passed away 3 days ago. And Lashitsky is like, God damn it.
Y'all kill him too.
Yeah. And he ends up like basically running into that judge's son. And he decides, you know what? I'm just going to have my vengeance on this guy. And he basically sets him up. He just starts gaslighting him with like doing all kinds of dumb shit, like to his car and stuff. And it's funny as hell the way the shit goes. Like Nelson is giving a speech, and Lashitsky sneaks into his car and sees that he's got a coffee sitting there, and he like spits in his coffee, hocks a big loogie in it. So of course you see him come back to his car, take a big drink of it, shit like that. It's all kinds of goofy shit. But he sees that Biederman is asthmatic, and so he sees that there's an asthma inhaler in the island in the middle of the seats in the car. So he empties out his asthma inhaler. So then Biederman is driving, has an attack, tries to hit the inhaler, nothing happens. He freaks out and he goes pulls over and just runs into this. It's a hilarious scene. He runs into this pharmacy that's owned by a little Asian couple who aren't speaking English. And he's like gasping and he can't breathe, and he falls down and he reaches up, holding up his empty inhaler, trying to tell them what he needs. And this little old Asian lady screams, "A tiny gun!" Reaches back and grabs a shotgun and starts shooting. And it just turns into this whole mess where Biederman ends up getting picked up for attempted robbery. And when Lashitsky finds out, he's like, what? He's like, the system just took my prize fish and threw him inside a can? What are you talking about? So Lashitsky's like, well, there's only one answer to this. And he get thrown in jail. Yeah, and he goes, I forgot what he does to get thrown in jail. But then it shows him go before the judge, and it's this female judge, and she's like, what do you have to say for yourself? And he goes, guilty as hell, Your Honor. And she's like, anything else? And he's like, one thing, ma'am. I want to go to Rossmore. And she's like, Rossmore? She's like, why would you want to go there? And he's like, 3 words, sister, location, location, location. And it's so great. He like, it's the whole thing is so farcical. He's like been in there so many times. He's friends with the guards, gets them to put him as roommates with this guy, so he could just keep gaslighting him the whole time that they're in jail together. It is. It's a great movie. It's funny as hell. So anyway, God, I've watched it. I've probably watched that movie 100 times. Like literally one of the funniest movies ever made. And it always makes me think though about doing a vampire story set in a prison, because it just seems like such an appropriate sort of place. I mean, what a perfect place for a vampire to stake out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we might have to talk.
It'd be a fun book to do, just a one shot sort of thing, one shot book.
It's you say one shot, I say prelude, because you set up a prison hero that we can then take to do other stuff in other prisons.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Hell, you can even make the story about a guard.
No, I like the inmate, the nice guy inmate who really doesn't belong in prison, doing heroic shit. Because there's a lot of people, dude. I've been on 3 yards, and there's a lot of people there that just don't fucking belong.
They got no business being there. Yeah,
no business being there, dude. They fucked up. They did something stupid, and they didn't have good guidance afterwards. That's all. I mean, they're fucking not evil people. Now, I'm not saying there aren't evil people in prison. I'm saying there was a lot of people that I met there that was like, man, your dumb ass should be at home. You're going to get fucked up in here.
Yeah. Man. Well, I've had...
And that was the worst part of it, was youngsters learning more about how to commit crime in prison.
Yeah.
Okay? They get in there and they're youngsters. These old guys are going, yeah, you did it wrong. You should have done it like this. But his old ass is in prison too. Okay. But they learn other methods of crime because the people they're all hanging out with are fucking criminals.
Mm-hmm.
It's like young people need guidance. They don't need prison. They need guidance.
I can see that.
Real people.
Yeah, I've been very critical of our prison system since I learned about it being commercialized a long time ago into something that was a privatized system. I'm like, if there is any fucking thing that should not be privatized, it's that.
Yeah. I was on, I think all 3 of the yards I was on were owned by private. They were private.
Because, I was listening to somebody talk about this whole system that's kind of grown out of it, where you'll have a company owns a prison and they're getting money from the state to run the prison. And then they're taking some of that money and funneling it back around to lobby for stricter laws on different things.
Keep
to basically keep beds full.
This is the whole thing. There's the federal government will pay the state a certain amount of money per bed, whether it's got an inmate in it or not. Okay. Now, some of the states take that money and reward more of it to the prisons if the beds are full. Then you got inmates who will go work outside of the gate on, let's say, a chili farm, picking chilies, right? Owner of that farm pays the state minimum wage per inmate per hour. What do you think the inmate gets out of it?
Nothing.
50 cents.
Well, that's what.
That is indentured service. That is not being a prison inmate.
I just call it what it is, man. It's fucking slavery.
Yeah.
And that's what
indentured service. They're giving you 50 cents, so you're not working for free.
Technically, yeah.
You see,
that's what.
But it's shitty because it's not your choice to be there.
That's what Kamala Harris was.
She was keeping people past their sentence for cheap labor in California. Yeah, I know.
Well, she kept it was like 1,500 inmates, all of them black men, and kept them so that they could, for each one of them, for basically $1 a day, have them to go out and fight the Southern California wildfires.
Forest fires. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm like, are you shitting me?
But see, that's what it is, though, and that's I try to tell people, man. It's like there's people who deserve to be in prison, and then there's prisons that were built for people who probably don't.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, look, if your whole gig is to catch somebody with some weed so you can fill a bed in a prison, if that's your whole gig, that's nuts, man. You know, because I mean, they're making weed legal in half the country, and then you cross a line, an imaginary line, and the law changed, and you still got a joint in your pocket. Now you're going to jail.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck, guys? It's like, oops, I stepped into Indiana and I had a weed in my pocket. Now I'm going to jail because I live in Michigan where it's legal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's going to be changing real damn soon. That shit seems to be more and more on its way out. It's about damn time. You know, I don't even.
It's just weird, dude.
I'm not
my whole life the weed thing has been weird.
I'm not a 420 person or any of that, but I'm like, dude, if you can still buy cigarettes, to me, I'm like, if cigarettes and alcohol are legal, weed should be legal. And I'm just like, what's the damn difference, people? You know?
Exactly.
I mean, it just really makes no damn sense.
So let's do a little bit of actual art. What are you doing here, Les?
Right now I am sitting here working on doing some roughs on a page for a book for Charles about Elizabeth Bathory. And I'm being really loose with this. I really don't like. I'm sitting here doing it while I'm talking, which is kind of hard for me to do because it takes a lot of thought to do this shit. And talking while I'm doing it is kind of difficult. But so I'm really just kind of roughing in what's going to go in each of these panels. And like this one right here, I know I'm going to end up laboring over it because it's supposed to be a chick starting to sit up in bed. And that's going to be, there are ways that you could cheat the drawing, but I hate that shit. So I like to make sure that it's tight. Like there's yeah. So I'm just kind of roughing this in with kind of a stick figure-y thing right now so that I have an idea of what's going to go there. A lot of times I will go find like photo references and draw from those. I draw from reference a lot because I want the stuff to feel solid. So yeah, that's a big thing for me. So I'll rough stuff out like this, and then afterwards go find my references and pull those together to do my final pieces. I know like there's a lot of art that I can do just fine, without the references. And I can do stuff that looks just as good without the references, but it'll take me 3 times as long. And I get paid for doing this. So I'm like, this needs to be out the damn door.
Right.
That's a part of this that people oftentimes don't think about. Is like if you're doing it for a living, you need to be very aware of how long it takes you to do stuff and actually get the shit done.
I pointed that out to somebody the other day. I was like, how much time do you got in this page? And he's like, oh, inking, I've only been doing, no. How much time do you have in the whole page? And he started thinking about it. And he's like, oh, no, 4 or 5 hours or something. I was like, and this is why there's a page, same position you are, working his way through a page, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, this is why page rates suck, people, because once they got 10 hours in it,
that's too damn long on a page, in my opinion. Like if it takes you if it takes you that long to do a page, you're not ready to be doing it for money yet.
Well, see, this is the whole thing, though. It's somebody that's doing the whole thing themselves. They're penciling, they're inking, they're coloring, and it's like by the time you get that all done, you figure in your page, how much it costs to do it, how much time you have in it, and then this is where you get your page rates from, people.
Oh yeah.
This takes you too fucking long, you're not going to be able to charge a decent page rate and get, you're not going to get a decent page rate for your time.
Now, if if we're talking about somebody doing a project of their own, I view that a little differently, like because when it's your own project, you're probably going to put a little more time in the pages. You're probably going to do a little more stuff with it because it's your own. Well, it's probably your baby.
The premise of the conversation was getting out a book every 2 months.
Yeah.
Okay? And it's like the speed involved. And when you look at how much time you're spending on a page, you're never going to be able to make that.
No, not
you
at
see
all.
What I'm saying? Unless you're making 12-page books. You're just not going to be able to put out a decent book every 2 months. If you're not, got some speed involved in what you're doing. You gotta be quick. And when you're quick, you can do a competitive page rate and make money.
Yeah.
If you're slow, you can't do a competitive page rate and make money.
For me, like the speed kind of came about from working airbrush shops back in the early 90s, because that shit will, God, if you work in an airbrush shop where you're turning a lot of volume, man, you get fast or you get fired. Mm-hmm. And I was actually running shops back then, running the art for 3 different shops. And so, yeah, you get fast or you get fired. And I've gotten to a point where, like right now, I'm sitting here being kind of lackadaisical with it. But normally, I'll bust out anywhere from 2 to 4 pages penciled and inked a day. If I'm working strictly digital, if I'm working traditional, it'll be like 2 to 3 pages a day. But if I'm doing it digital like I am with this book, then I'll do probably 3 or 4 pages a day, penciled and inked. I know on Reign of Dracula, issue number 2 of that, I penciled and inked that entire issue in a week.
Damn.
It's 24 pages, and I got that done in a week.
You just stayed up all night, every night, huh?
No, I mean, I was doing about 10-hour work days. But, and it's funny, some books are like that. Some books are easier to do that with than others. Just depends on what the artwork calls for, really.
Well, it's like I'm looking at this art right here, these pages that you've got done.
Oh, yeah.
How many hours you doing on those pages?
Oh, I'd say each one of those pages probably has 2.5, 3 hours tops.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's not bad. But now, and I've got some wild ass tricks for doing that too. That again, I am a production beast, so I will like if I've got an environment or a piece of scenery, like in this castle thing that she's in there, that comes up multiple times in the story. And so, you know, I could sit and line it out and redraw that thing, like drawing all my stuff and just literally 100% redrawing it every time. Or because I'm also a 3D guy, I can build a 3D model of it and then get my reference from that 3D model. Like I can position it, turn it, do whatever I want with it, get it in position, and then drop that into my page, and boom, I've got that damn thing ready to go. So I'm not wasting time, you know, being some kind of purist trying to redraw this thing over and over when I know, okay, I can position it this way, have total control over my angles, my consistency, everything. It's just, I'm like, why wouldn't you do that? Now, I've seen people have debates about this in public about shit and act like it's, you know, they're like, oh, it's cheating. I'm like, dude, we're not in a competition here.
And I already drew it once. Why should I have to draw it over again?
Like if I've modeled this thing, there is no reason that I should have to do this over and over if I can use that model. And the quality level of what I get out of it is going to be way higher than if I freehand drew that thing every time anyway. So, you know, screw it. You know, it's like if the tools are there, use them. Neil Adams talked a lot about this when I got to hang out with him for a day, and he talked about that. He's like, you know, he's like talking about new tools and things, because we got on the subject because he had asked me, you know, what I did outside of comics, and I was like, oh, I do 3D modeling and animation. And he's like, awesome. You know, he thought that was super cool. And he asked if he's like, do you ever use that when you're working on comics? I was like, all the time. I was like, because I can, you know I can do these things. I was like, but I don't always talk about it because some people get shitty with me about it. And Neil Adams is like, screw those people. Neil Adams, he's like, screw them. He's like, back in my day when we finally got photocopiers, he's like, you bet your ass I used a photocopier, and I was, you know, inking over photocopies and doing all kinds of stuff, because if you're making a living, you've got deadlines and time is of the essence. And I was like, and so with that, I'm like, okay, Uncle Neil says it's cool. It's cool. Everybody else can piss off. I know it's kind of funny, but I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm actually doing here, since I only got like 15 minutes left. So like here I'm setting up a panel where this monk is looking down at the chick that he's kind of saved over here. And she's sitting in bed where he's just giving her like a cup of something to drink. And I think I'm going to have, let's see, let's go in here and let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Let's put a hand in here with the thumb right here, so that I've got a place I can keep some continuity going when he pulls the cup back. And boom, boom. So there's that. And then come down through there. So anyway, the thing I was about to get into, once I doodle that in there, is to add another layer over here. Set it to my non-photo blue, because that blue is your friend. And I want to rough in like where this bed's going to be that she's sitting in. But I also want to have control over, well, I want to rough in like that it's in the corner here. I want to have some stuff that kind of gives some background, some solidity to that background. So I got these rough little lines in here, but I'll use those as kind of a guide. And then I'll take this perspective tool. Now this is neat. It's one of my favorite things in this program. is the perspective tool in here. What this does is I come into this layer, and let's say I know that, like, I don't know if you can see where my mouse is moving, but if I draw a line there, and then I know that somewhere out here is the other corner of that bed, and I just kind of think about where these perspective lines would go. I'm going to drop one of these lines in here with this tool, and then another one right like that. And now those, I'm going to turn this vertical line off. Let's see. Here we go. Actually, I'm going to turn this so that vertical line is kind of aligned with these that I did over here. And then that horizontal line will cause me some problems. So I'm going to turn it off. So now, when I come doodling in here, actually, let's go ahead and turn the vertical one off too while I'm doing those lines. So if I click on, where'd you go? Where'd you go, buddy? There it is. No. This thing's being stupid on me. If they turn green like that, that means they're turned off. So there. Yeah, now I've got those turned off. And I want these turned on. And so then from there, it'll just lock onto those. That damn vertical one is still on. Yeah. Go away. There we go. Now, so then I can come in here and just drop a buttload of lines in there like that. And there's actually grids that you can turn on over here too. Like if I select this and I turn on, you can see these grids turn on, and you can do all kinds of stuff with those too. It's kind of handy. But I don't really like working with those on. They kind of get in the way of seeing what I'm doing. So now I'm going to turn that one off. And let's turn that, let's see, that one on and that one on. Are you on? Are you on? Yeah, you're on. No, you're not. Since I rotated it like that, it gets a little hard sometimes to tell if they're on or not. Okay. Yeah, now those are on. So then I'll drop a couple lines right here. And let's say here I'm going to block off. That's so I know that that's the corner of the room. So like if I want to have maybe some wood or whatever there, but I could just go in and doodle in a quick grid now that everything's going to snap to those. Okay, so I'm gridding this out a little bit more. And like that. So, yeah, that works. That works. Then I'm going to come over here and hide that ruler. So now I'm going to come in and doodle in some stuff. Like there's a pillow. Let's throw another pillow right here. And then she's going to be, I'll do another layer here. It's going to have her. Let's make that one a little lighter. So then she's going to be like right here. Let's have her seated. Just for the sake of thinking about it right now. Okay. And I want her kind of bent over. So there's going to be a lot of shadows right there. Let's see. Here's where her knee is going to come to. Out here roughly. And I'll give her shoulders a little thrust back so that she's Kind of reaching back to the bed like that. And here. I'm very scribbly when I'm working. And I tend to push the perspective a lot on things. So there we go. There's that. And then I want the attitude of her head to be kind of down, like she's leaning forward off the bed. It's a trickier pose than you might think. That. And I find that this part of doing a page is the hardest part. Getting it all roughed in, getting your composition and your staging and everything. I find that the hardest part. Like once I've got that all nailed down and the decision-making process is kind of worked out, then the actual final drawing is easy. That's the fun part, the most fun part. So there's that. And then we have some pressure showing up there, and where she's sitting on this bed. It's supposed to be a medieval sort of environment too, so the bed's a piece of crap. And then I'm giving myself a little indicator that I want shadows right here, because those just help kind of pull the whole thing together. I think the ending of the bed's going to be right about there. And then let's do, make it like that. I think a big problem a lot of people have when they're trying to draw is they're afraid to just cut loose and scribble. And really so much of it comes from scribbling. You got to cut loose with that.
And that's 10 minutes, people. You build that panel in like that. 10 minutes.
So yeah, that's about how I usually work. You know, like I said, I'll do anywhere from 2 to 4 pages a day, and a lot of times that really has more to do. A lot of times the number of pages I'll get done in a day has more to do with what my schedule looks like than the pages themselves. Because, you know, I may have other business related things that I have to do that takes up, good God, if I'm dealing with tax people, that's going to take up an hour or 2 of my time.
Right.
You know, if I've got errands I got to run, that's going to be another hour or 2. So it's like there's always some bullshit trying to cut into my time to actually draw. So,
what's up, Bill?
So, we got anybody hanging out today, man?
Just a few, you know. I mean, there's a bunch of people watching on Twitter, but they don't ever say anything on Twitter.
That's funny. Filming X, thanks, man. I'm poking around on here just to look and see if anybody's over there, seeing folks or if anybody's saying anything. So it's coming up on about time. I got like 5 more minutes. Now I'm using Clip Studio here, of course, and over here you can see where the rest of the book is laid out right now.
Right.
And I really love that. It's like, you know, that's the cover, interior cover. I do not like, and there is no way to change this. So if anybody with Clip Studio, anybody who actually works for them is paying attention, damn it, y'all need to fix this. I hate that if you set up a book project, it will do a cover page, an interior cover page, and then back cover, inside cover, and then it'll start counting the pages from 3. Because 1, 2, 3, like that. I hate that because every time I'm talking to somebody in production, you know, when I output those
You're not
pages,
counting the cover, yeah.
It's not. I always have to go in and rename the files when I output them to send them to a client because it's going to be. Well, I don't. There's a way to set it up where you just don't do a cover page, or there are ways to set it up. If you set it up in the way that they tell you to in their tutorials, it's going to end up like this, and that's going to be annoying. So, but this is for Charles, so he can be annoyed. I think I set this up really quick one day and was just like, screw it, and just jumped into it.
Oh shit!
Yeah, Charles, that's for you. There you go. You can do the math. Just subtract 2 off every page number. So, but I really do like working in here because, you know, like if I know I've got a script for a book that's 22 pages, so I can set up a book in here and just go ahead and have my template for my page, which you can see right there, my 6S1 Comics template, and I'll have that template and create all these blank pages. And there's something really satisfying, first off, about as I'm working on it, being able to see the pages come together and just like watching that book happen as I'm getting the pages done. It's satisfying, and it gives you this feeling of, like, you're really getting shit done. But then you also can look ahead and you've got a clear visual of what's left to be done. And something about that for me, just the way that I like to work, something about how I think, I guess, being able to see that gives me a clearer picture of where I'm headed. And then being able to look at the pages in their layout like this. So you're always seeing it in an actual print layout. So like page 1, have pages 2 and 3 together, 4 and 5 together, because it's always even then odd. Like if you do a 2-page spread, 2-page spreads do not start with an odd numbered page, folks. So having it laid out like that, where you can really think about that stuff. Like if I wanted to put in here at pages 8 and 9, if I wanted those to be a 2-page spread, I can look ahead and go, okay, that's where in the book that spread's going to happen. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's sort of a minor thing, but I really like the way it lets me lay out a book, and I think about the layout of the entire book when I'm working like that. So that's kind of cool. So sometime I'll probably do a session on here where I just start a brand new project in Clip Studio and show y'all how I set it up. Show you the way that you can set it up like this so that you have the whole cover, interior cover and all that. And then show you the other way that I like to do it that allows me to have more control over it.
Well, that sounds like a good idea, actually. You can give people a tutorial on starting your book in Clip Studio. That'd be kind of cool.
For me, Clip Studio has been for years a real game changer on a lot of things. I mean, it makes production just makes life so much easier with a lot of stuff. There's lots of things in it that, I mean, any image editor at the end of the day, they're all going to essentially be kind of Photoshop clones, which, that's just the nature of it because Photoshop was first, arguably first. But what they've developed with Clip Studio, they've really put a lot of work into making sure that the tools that they give you a lot of tools, and they come up with a lot of tools to make doing comics easier. That if you're an old school person, which I was, I come up from the early 90s. You come from doing it traditional. You get into Clip Studio, you will find tools in there that you did not know you wanted. Like that perspective tool is one, like once you use that, you'll be like, why would I ever go back to doing perspective any other way? This is too good. And like, even if I'm doing some projects, I'll do most or completely digital, like this one. Some projects I will do all or partially traditional. But even when I do traditional pages nowadays, I will do the penciling of them digitally. I will lay out my pencils digital. And if it needs perspective and stuff, I will lay out perspectives using the tools in here digitally. And then all that stuff will go get printed in non-photo blue on illustration boards, and I'll ink that traditionally. But I'm still, that's letting me blend between traditional tools and what, you're going to get from Natural Toolkit. And then being able to blend that with what you can get out of this. So I'm very much a hybrid artist when it comes to doing comics. I see no reason not to. I'm like, if the tools are there, use them.
All right. I just got a message from Charles. He apologizes for not making it. He said today was FUBAR. I said, okay, no problem. I hope you can.
I figured he probably, probably having some.
Yeah. He says, okay, that's cool. Hopefully he can be here next week. And as always, Les, it's great talking to you.
Good. Well, I hope folks enjoy this one. This was a little more brass tacks art stuff. So kind of cool. I like getting back to that stuff.
Yes.
Guests are fun, but this is what this whole thing's really about for me.
The art, people.
Yep.
Right.
Putting lines on pages, folks.
I will see you again next week. I'm going to play a couple more ads for some of our current active campaigns, friends of ours that have current active campaigns. I think this one ends like today.
Cool.
I think Phenomenova by Von Coleman. Check this one out, you guys.
Oh, and before you play that, I want to remind folks, go to hplovecrafttarot.com when you get a chance. That's a project that I've been working on for a while, and I think we're maybe a month out from launching a Kickstarter for it. Maybe a little over a month. We haven't put the launch page up for it yet, but go check out the website, and if that goes well, there's a whole pile of other stuff that'll be coming hot on its heels.
Cool. All right. You heard it, people. Go check it out. We will see you all next Wednesday, 11 o'clock Eastern, right here on the Comic Artist Hour. Peace.
Later, y'all.
When the whole world was dragged into World War III, brave men like my father fought on the front lines. And they weren't alone. That was 20 years ago. Now it's up to us to carry on their legacy. And every so often, the earth from which we come gives way for something new, something greater to be born. And with them, even greater threats to face. Bring it on! Phenomenova. For you, Dad. For you.
Just back it already.
How do you end this thing? How do you put the where's the brakes on this bus? I forgot.
Jazz hands. Jazz hands.
Have a good night.